got a big story this week. The media is not interested in it, but we are because we'd like to have a country that's free of corruption. The President of the United States got his 10% for the big guy. $40,000 out of a $400,000 payment flowing from China. That news being shared with us by Congress this week. Let's speak to a congressman. Jason Smith joins us now. He's from Missouri, and he's the chairman of the House Ways and Means Committee. He's been digging into the Biden crime family. Congressman, good to have you with us, sir.
It's great to be with you, sir.
This seems like a big one. $40,000. We've got a check. We've got a picture of it going from the Biden family to Joe Biden exactly at the moment that the Biden family received $400,000 from China. How do you interpret it?
Well, let's just say that evidence continues to pile up from the work of Chairman Comer, Chairman Jordan, and the material that we've been releasing out of the Ways and Means Committee. If Joe Biden is lending this much money to his family members, those loans should be documented, and interest income should appear on his tax returns. The pieces of his tax returns that he has released, they don't answer these questions. And it's extremely simple. President Biden must show documentation to prove these payments were loans. This $40,000 that was released, it was 10% of the $400,000 that came through. I mean, it's all adding up. It complies with what our IRS whistleblowers have showed. We've seen bank records. Unfortunately, the president's not reporting it on his taxes.
So if $40,000 came to me, just a normal guy, $40,000 shows up, and the IRS asked me, hey, what's this $40,000? And I just say, oh, it's a loan repayment. Does that make my problems go away? I just tell them it's a loan repayment, and they're like, oh, okay, and they just walk away. Is that how it usually works?
That's not how it works. I'll tell you, I don't know too many people that have loaned $240,000 that are members of Congress or members of the Senate or vice presidents of the United States to their family members, because you don't make so much money that you can just be loaning $240,000. And just last week, we showed another $200,000 check that was a, quote, loan repayment. This is just exactly what I believe that Joe Biden and the Biden family is trying to do to protect their dirty trail.
I remember Joe Biden telling us that when he left the vice presidency, that he was one of the poorest men to ever leave the office. In fact, he kind of bragged about that status. But we're now to believe that he was casually lending hundreds of thousands of dollars to family members?
Yeah, his net worth clearly went up in the 50 years of public service that he has been in as a senator or as vice president or president. And for your net worth to increase as large as what his has since his time in public service doesn't add up.
So one of the many things that stands out to me about what the Oversight Committee released yesterday is that the Biden family bank accounts that were involved didn't have any money in them until the Chinese money started flowing in. So the idea that the Biden family they can't even use the excuse that, oh, this was different money, it wasn't the Chinese money. Well, there was no other money in these accounts.
Yeah, and what's also so concerning is that in some instances, money transferred various accounts, 40 different accounts in some instances. You don't have 40 different accounts moving money around from one account to another unless you're trying to hide something. Who in their right mind has 40 different accounts to push through hundreds of thousands of dollars? That doesn't smell right. It's not right. Average Americans would never be doing this.
No.
And elected officials should not be doing this.
And there's also this other big piece that Chairman Comer laid out yesterday, that it was the summer of 2017 when this is all going down, and Hunter Biden is texting with his Chinese business associate, threatening him. It's a shakedown text. Everyone knows about this now, the one that goes, I'm sitting here with my father, and promising that the Biden family will make this person's life a living hell if he doesn't send along millions of dollars. And it was just days later, sure enough, $5 million shows up.
That WhatsApp message that you're referring to came to us through the IRS whistleblowers at the Ways and Means Committee, And this just adds to verification what the IRS whistleblower said. Because, in fact, this is that company, like you said, that Hunter Biden was seated next to his father, waiting for their response of their payment of $10 million. And it's just steps through the whole process. But this loan repayment scheme is not just in this instance. The IRS whistleblowers highlighted more than $2 million that one of President Biden's campaign donors, Mr. Kevin Morris, apparently paid all of Hunter Biden's taxes, more than $2 million, but it was, quote, a loan.
Right.
Another loan.
So are you on alert for
beginning?
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Congressman, but this is something that I've been obsessed with too. I keep hearing the word loan involved in all of this money that's flowing around the Biden family. And my assumption is that this is all designed to evade scrutiny by the IRS.
It absolutely is. Let me tell you, what we do know is that if these were loans, then they need to issue the interest income on their taxes. They also need to disclose loans this large on their taxes. The public tax records that Joe Biden has released as a candidate and as president of the United States do not provide any of that information. So it's not adding up. These are either gifts, these are payments, these are loans. They have to be one of those. Which are they? And if they're any of them, they're not being disclosed on the president's tax returns, which is a crime.
Yes. Now, 2017, this is interesting because one might look at this and go, look, he's not vice president of the United States at that point. He's also not yet president of the United States. But my impression, based on the documents that we've seen so far, is that some of this Chinese money was designed to enrich the Biden family for deliverables they already brought. In other words, this is back payment that they were giving to the Biden family because the Bidens recognized that they couldn't take money without being scrutinized until Joe Biden was not vice president of the United States anymore.
None of this is adding up. The IRS whistleblowers have provided a lot of great documentation showing where there were official acts that were connected to resources that was coming into the Biden family and affiliates, which is very, very disturbing. What we do know from the IRS whistleblowers that Joe Biden was the family brand, and it was the brand that the Bidens were selling all over the world for access. There's no question about that. We know that President Biden said that he knew nothing of his son Hunter Biden's business dealings. Then whenever we proved that he in fact did, he said that he was not involved in his son's business dealings. We know that he is. And we also know that he has benefited based on information from the IRS whistleblowers that he has benefited from his son's business dealings.
Yes.
It's just absolutely terrible.
So we've caught, of course, Joe Biden in a couple of obvious lies. That includes some of the stuff that you just mentioned, that he never talked to his son about his business dealings, quite obviously false. And additionally, that his family never got any money from China. He said that on a debate stage. That's explicitly false. In fact, Joe Biden himself, we have checks now, images of checks showing that he did receive money from China. At what point do we get to the level where we take the so-called impeachment inquiry to an actual impeachment proceeding?
You know, there are still a lot of items, at least in our space, and we are focused on the tax aspect of this investigation through the Ways and Means Committee. And of course, Jim Jordan is through the Department of Justice, Judiciary, Jamie Comer's oversight. There's still several people that we have subpoenaed. In fact, a couple people that we have subpoenaed that higher ups in the Department of Justice leadership refuse to allow them to come before Congress just in the last 2 weeks. And so, of course, this administration is obstructing our investigation.
Yes. We
got to continue to get this information to hopefully lay out the frameworks of where the next steps are.
These senior Justice Department officials you mentioned, are these, did Congress send subpoenas already, or are you requesting their testimony?
We issued subpoenas to two different DOJ tax investigators. And the higher ups, they agreed to come in to Congress for depositions, but the higher ups prevented them from coming in. And that's just in the last 2 weeks. So they were subpoenaed, they agreed to it, but then folks higher up in the food chain at DOJ would not allow them to come in. Clearly, the administration is obstructing a congressional investigation.
So what are the consequences for refusing a subpoena? How does that usually work?
Well, you saw that with Steve Bannon being held in contempt in Congress. And then you saw the Justice Department go after Steve Bannon. Let's see if this Justice Department will go after themselves. I think we could answer that.
Okay, I see. So will there be a contempt of Congress vote then on these subpoenas?
I think everything is on the table because the American people deserve the answers, and we need to make sure people are held accountable for their actions.
Speaking of subpoenas, and we're talking, by the way, with Congressman Jason Smith of the House Ways and Means Committee, I did see that the new Speaker, Mike Johnson, had said that there is a conversation going on right now about possibly subpoenaing Hunter Biden to have him come testify before Congress. Can you give us a status update of any kind on whether or not that's likely to happen, sir?
The facts are leading to definitely where Hunter Biden needs to come before Congress. And I would expect that Jamie Comer, the chairman of the Oversight Committee, will probably be doing that whenever the time is right.
Okay. All right. Lastly, on Hunter Biden, there's a USA Today op-ed today with Hunter Biden's name on it. He claims in this op-ed that he's being attacked because of his drug addiction, that Republicans are trying to attack him simply because he was addicted to drugs. What do you make of this?
That is the most ridiculous comment and the ridiculous excuse. Take responsibility for your own actions. And guess what? Your own actions is highlighted by numerous evidence that's been released by the IRS whistleblowers of where you basically sold your family's brand to countries all over the world, Romania, China, Ukraine, and you profited off of the family brand, which is your father. His name is Joe Biden. And so that's what the IRS whistleblowers brought up. Don't bring in the fact that you have a drug problem as an excuse of why Congress is going after you. We're going after you because your family has received millions of dollars to get access to your father.
Congressman Jason Smith of the House Ways and Means Committee, sir, thank you very much for your time today. Really good to talk to you as always.